What is going on in the world, Lubie? I mean, and good morning, people. It's good to have you guys with us. Destined to go to the racetrack later on today. You know, and Mayo's good. I mean, he keeps bringing those Friday and Saturday forms. Although, one thing I find, and I love Tony Segreto, but he always ends up taking like the Saturday racing form.
Oh, does he? Does he even bet? Why does he need the Saturday one? Is he betting on Saturday?
I don't know. I mean, is that just a byproduct of being in the media forever, where whatever they're giving away, you're taking one? Like, even though you have like zero use for it.
What do you mean?
Is he watching FanDuel? I don't think so. That's not Tony's bag.
I have no interest at all anymore watching any of it, and I almost grab it every week.
Yeah. It's insane, isn't it? Right? You wouldn't know how to read it anyway, right? I mean, look, it's no shame if you have never looked at a racing form. You look at it, it's like, what the fuck is this? That's probably the worst move that you can make in any kind of relationship. Try to teach your girlfriend to read the racing form. Not that she's incapable. No. Now, here's the thing. If she already knows everything about the form and she's pointing out things to you on the first date,
oh, that's great.
How do you feel about that woman?
Yeah, it's amazing.
But is she ever going to buy your bullshit when she's already surpassed you in terms of her degenerate levels, which would be the ultimate test? Because I like that when, you're with somebody. Now, this is only in my fantasies, Libby. When you're with a woman at the track and she says, can you believe this, Christoph? Come on, man.
Oh, yeah.
This is the second time he's put blinkers on this horse, and guess what happened both times? Finished last. Then he has the barn send in a bunch of money, so the horse is 4 to 5 every flash, and you know what happens with 4 to 5 favorites. People believe in them.
The time.
Wake up with Defo, joined by Lubie. Welcome to the Defo Show.
Very pleasant. Good morning, everybody. Great to be with you. Today's edition of the Defo Show. We go old school with Tony Segreto a bit later on, the aforementioned Tony Segreto, which we'll ask him, what does he do with that racing form?
Maybe he makes bets. I'm sure he has some kind of a TVG or whatever account.
It's not like you don't open the Bible. It's in the drawer of some cheap motel room that you happen to be staying at. Why is it they always have a Bible in the drawer like a Motel 6?
I don't know.
You open the drawer, 3 roaches come crawling out, and there's a Bible. It just always struck me as being odd. Like I mean, what are you praying for? That nobody breaks in and kills you while you're there in the middle of nowhere, some buttfuck Motel 6. That's where I was staying when I was in Arizona that first year that I started going to the road Super Bowl, Radio Rose. Leslie Visser's advice on that. She didn't realize that I was dead broke at the time, which I've been several times in my life. But nonetheless, I've always found a way to get out of that. And we're hoping it happens again soon. But nonetheless, so I was very, I had to be very sacrificing when it came to any kind of reasonable accommodations. And so I found the cheapest hotel, and it happened to be, which was great. It was one exit away from Turf Paradise, the racetrack, which is out in the middle of fucking nowhere. And the only reason I realized that was because I drove by the Motel 6 exit one time, went one exit past, and it said racetrack. So naturally, as if driven by a magnetic force field, my car pulled into the parking lot, even though it was at night. And I thought, wow, okay, there's my itinerary for tomorrow. At that time, I was actually doing a show at night, so it really didn't impact my ability to perform there and deliver the usual stellar performance from Radio Row, Lubie, with all of the guests. That was a rough one, too, because I didn't have like a guy like you to produce this thing.
There's no way. Then there's no way.
Whew, man.
You'll get people on, but it's going to be a fucking disaster.
Weirdos, yeah, wackos. Guys that are promoting various aspects of religion that I had never really, seen in anybody's ballpark before. All right, good to be with you. Andy reminded me, he said that was a great way. I mean, speaking of inside information and reading the racing form and women at the racetrack, best inside information I ever had, of course. And he said I should use this as the opening line of my book, Death Threat on Line 2, where I was talking about I was banging an exercise rioter at Hialeah Park, that would be a great way to start out a book. And she knew way more about the horses than I could ever hope to know because she was riding some of them in the morning. So she had a pretty good feel for what was going on. Now, people will tell you the worst touts at the track probably are trainers.
Yeah.
Or they tell you, oh, yeah, my horse, he run good today.
Yeah, they're biased. I mean.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they try to be optimistic, I would imagine. They're always optimistic about their chances, no matter. I mean, once in a while, a trainer will tell you, and that's also a sandbag job, where a trainer will tell you, no shot today. Don't even bother considering it. And the horse boogies and wins.
Exactly.
It happens to us with our dear friend Luca Panici. He'll say, man, this horse is not running so good. barely can get him going in the morning, and then Boogie's in pays $68. Meanwhile, the 3 to 5 shed he's on runs up the track. You're like, what? You told us this horse was razor sharp. And jockeys would be right in behind them as the worst touts. Exercise riders, they do have some insight. In fact, this particular woman helped trigger my biggest payoff ever on a single wager that I made at the track when I took down 11 grand that one year.
Oh, wow.
I guess this was 2006 on a pick 3. I had handicapped the first leg of a pick 3. In the second leg, I was relying strictly on a tip that I got from a friend of this exercise rider's, who was a trainer who I believe was banned in more countries than he had a license in to operate. Yeah, he was a good guy, man. Funny as hell, man. His name was Patrick Reardon. I think if you look him up, he was even banned in like China from racing. This guy for all kinds of bizarre indiscretions that he had gone against the rules with, whatever rules or parameters. He was outside of the guidelines that they hadn't even established yet. That's how far ahead chemically he was of other trainers at the time. And he gives me a horse. He says, I got a tip from the cripple waiter, who's usually pretty good, he says. So I'm thinking, all right, I'll go ahead and use him. I use this horse. I'll never forget it. His name was Built Up, and won the middle leg of this pick 3. And then a Polyman tip horse came in for me on the last leg. So it was 2 tips, 1 piece of handicapping, 11 dimes. I ended up having the thing like for $19. It paid $5.50. Walked out of there feeling pretty good about myself. And then I asked Reardon, I said, so, how confident were you in that horse from the cripple waiter? He said, are you kidding me? After I had the impression that he was doing pretty well with the guy, he said, he hasn't given me a winner in 7 years.
Oh, Jesus.
So it's always a bizarre luck, but and that's what it takes to be a winner in sports gambling, doesn't it? You have to have a little bit of bizarre luck, maybe even blind luck at different times. Now, yesterday was phenomenal from a lot of different standpoints, and wow, is it time to start beating the drum, Lubie, for our local teams? So we were talking about this a little bit yesterday on the show. Our local teams, the Panthers win again. They beat the Sabres. The Sabres suck, but nonetheless, a win is a win, as they say.
It was a tougher game. They didn't annihilate them like the last time.
Right? And so they win again. They're now sitting there atop the Eastern Conference with 82 points. They're in a dead heat with the Boston Bruins. I guess maybe they have a game in hand or something. They were listed ahead of them in the standings. The New York Rangers are banging on the door there. They're 1 point behind. The Rangers in action tonight against a team that snapped their 10-game winning streak just the other day. Jeff Rimmer's Columbus Blue Jackets will be going against the Rangers. That's at Madison Square Garden tonight, one of 2 hockey games on the Wednesday slate. So Panthers, just kicking ass. And they've never looked like this, have they, Lubie, in any season? Last year.
2 years ago. But that's the thing is it felt falsha because of how they were doing it. They were
always coming from behind with miracle finishes.
And remember, their offense was spectacular, but exactly like you're saying, if the games were tight, they didn't
very suspect defensively. Yes,
exactly. They were suspect defensively. The goaltending was sort of hit or miss. Bobrovsky was still the guy.
Bobrovsky looked like a blind man that year, didn't he? He wanted him out of there. In fact, they had 2 other goalies come in and make contributions.
Yes, in the playoffs, they won by the skin of their teeth over an old and beleaguered Capitals team, and then got housed by who's been one of the classic NHL, the Lightning. Like this team feel when you watch them, you can have bravado and confidence. It's just that run through the playoffs, instead of it just being like the Canes, sadly, one and done, where they had this great run and this year's just nothing like it. It like propelled them. Plus what Zito did to shore up some of their soft spots. I haven't watched them a lot, but whenever I watch them, they look very different. And it's
always guys too that you never heard of, didn't even know were on the roster.
Well, that's the thing is, it's not just Tkachuk. A lot of it was Tkachuk led last year. Tkachuk only has like 22 goals. Like he's having a good year, but he's not having this amazing.
Kind of eased into it, yes.
It's everyone. Like they're just playing, and they're goaltending. But Bobrovsky's playing great. Not great. Everything you can. Stolars, who I never fucking heard of, is playing great. Like
some journeyman Schmenk gets in there, and now he's shutting everybody out. He's fantastic.
They're just playing again. We don't know. Look, the Bruins did something similar last year, and then the Panthers came from, was it 3-1 behind to go and win the series? So it's hockey. You don't know, but to watch them be this in the regular season's fun. Like for every year I worked with you, you're like, yep, they're mathematically eliminated November 20th, and the season started November 10th. Like
exactly, yeah. You're trying to figure out. Well, if they win the rest of their games, they're still outside the playoffs. Well, after eking in last year, I thought they had a pretty good team last year. I mean, they pulled the trigger on the Tkachuk deal. That was a bold move, and obviously one that was extremely beneficial. The guy sort of changed the dynamic of the way the team plays. A lot of guys that you thought were finesse guys. I mean, is the last thing you want to be if you're on a team with a lot of these types, a finesse hockey player?
100%.
You almost need one sometimes, but nonetheless, you can't have your whole team be finesse. That was the biggest insult for a football team. Remember when they would say, "Hey, they're more of a finesse team"? It's like, go fuck yourself.
Exactly.
You calling us finesse?
Well, if you watch Stanley Cup Finals again, the Golden Knights are in Vegas. But anyone who watched that Stanley Cup Finals, they were murdering the Panthers.
Oh my God, yeah.
They were killing them. It's like, Jesus, what is this, the Flyers? Like from the 70s or like the 90s with Lindros? And it was like, Jesus, this team is physical as fuck. Like the Panthers, even with Tkachuk, felt still a little too finessey. And this team is not that. This team is very physical. It's really fun to watch.
Yeah. I mean, the Vegas Golden Knights, they treated the Panthers in that series the way the guards at Attica treated the inmates after they took control of the prison again. I mean, it was ugly. They knew guys were, I mean, they know Tkachuk's in there with a broken back. Let's not think for a second that they're not aware of what's going on injury-wise, even though they don't like to disclose injuries. It's always a big mystery. Well, he's got a lower body injury. What the fuck does that mean? Is it his ankle? Did his penis fall off? I mean, what happened to this guy? Let's have a little more description there, Doc, huh? But I would imagine inside the circles of the inner circles of the NHL, the other players are aware, hey, you know what? Kachuk's got a broken back. Let's annihilate him, and which they did. I mean, they just attacked this guy the entire time. I mean, an already debilitated team physically just took a hammering in that series, and they were able to just physically wrestle the cup away from the hopes of the South Florida fans who, will we ever sniff that? That's a good question. Would this not loom in the history of the Florida Panthers? I know they went to the finals now a couple of times. We didn't give them any shot when they were in year number 3, and they went to the Stanley Cup Finals, ran into Patrick Roy. That was ugly, although that fourth game was a classic and will forever go down in the annals of South Florida sports history as one of the great games ever played. I don't know that people would immediately think of that one, but if you go back and you think, wow, I mean, that was just amazing. The Beezer and Patrick Roy going at it. It's incredible, right? Who was the guy who made the winning goal? Ulf Samuelsson? I believe it was Ulf Samuelsson.
I think he was like a defenseman, too. He was like one of the great.
He never scored, man. I think Moose Vasco had more goals than this guy.
Especially on that Avalanche team that had like 5 Hall of Famers.
And all these guys that were scoring 70 goals a season. It was incredible. But that was a classic, no doubt. And yet they went into that whole postseason. You were thinking they weren't going to have much of a shot. And then they went back the next year. I guess it was the first season in the new arena.
Yeah.
It went back and they lost to the Rangers. Was that at the old? That might have been at the old Miami Arena also. That
might have been the first year in the new arena. You might be right, actually.
Not sure. I want to say no to that.
A lot of excitement because it was Rangers and Gretzky had just come over and he was near the end. And the Panthers were coming off the run and it was bad.
They really didn't raise a gallop in that series.
No.
So, that was ugly and it was a quick exit. And then playoff appearances were few and far between. So you would have to think that this year, I mean, they really do look like the real deal. There's no way to dispute that. I don't care what kind of harsh critic you might be of the organization. It doesn't seem like they have a lot of harsh critics.
No.
It appears that there's either indifference or people are all in. Very excited about it.
They've turned it around. Zito has really been night and day.
This guy doesn't get talked about enough. I know we've been talking about him the last couple of days, but I mean, is this not one of the more phenomenal jobs you've seen in terms of assembling personnel in a very abstract sport to try and do that in? I mean, this isn't, always a game that every player you can define with tremendous clarity as to what his strengths and weaknesses are. I guess these hockey guys, well, he's a hockey man. They know, but I mean, how many years did Dale Talon have at the helm and he couldn't do anything, right? The team seemed to never change its composure, no matter 100%. Who they had, what kind of goal scorers. I guess, it got a little interesting when they had Pavel Bure in there. Did that precede Dale Talon's run as GM?
Yes.
Pavel Bure? Yeah.
He was around that run after the Cup. After that year with the Rangers, they sort of just said, all right, fuck it.
Yeah.
They said, screw the chemistry. Let's go for the stud. And I think they made one playoffs and it was a disaster. And he still scored a lot, but like you joke about, he didn't do anything else.
Yeah.
That was in the 90s. That was late 90s. Look, Talon assembled Ekblad and Huberdeau and Sasha Barkov, 3 guys that are key still to this. And Huberdeau was key. They brought in Kachuk.
Well, I mean, the transition from him to Kachuk, huge move.
It was huge.
But he was instrumental. I mean, he had to be pretty good to be able to be part of that deal, the centerpiece of it.
The thing Zito's done last year and then into this season that you've talked about is what Talon could never do. Talon, they actually had the core pieces, and they were a young, talented. Hyde would talk about it, and we would talk about, the young. Well, they're coming along, but they didn't have the veterans and the physical guys to surround them to get them over the hump, and Talon could never get them. Every year, that was their same issue for like 4 or 5 years, and Zito in 2 years has solved that, or at least seemingly solved it.
Well, it helped too. I mean, Zito gets a big boost from the fact that somehow Bobrovsky, even though it seems like it's every other season, he's relocated his game since he came back after the injury last year. Yeah, I mean, whatever retina repair he had done. What do you have, like scratched corneas? What the fuck was up with this guy? He was seeing double before. So that's great. I mean, and that'll turn around any franchise. If all of a sudden you're getting just lights out goaltending, definitely has to help. But no, these additions, it seems like there is always another guy out there that's doing something significant, even if it's just in a role coming off the bench in the fourth line. I mean, they keep bringing in players that I'm not familiar with, and I'm like, whoa, look at that, man, this guy's pretty good. And they come in and they make a contribution. So this appears to be their best chance by far. I mean, they appear to be legitimate.
Yes.
As opposed to this guessing game that we always have. Well, are they going to make the playoffs? Well, if they do, is it really going to matter? None of that bullshit conversation is going on with them right now. And the Heat have continued to just amaze me with what they've been able to do, particularly of late. I don't know overall in the last 25 games or so where they stand. But they've now won 5 in a row. Portland is one of the worst teams in the league. I guess they would be the worst team in the West. The Portland Trailblazers. The Pistons won, I think, last night.
The Spurs are the worst team in the West.
Spurs, okay. Right there.
Them second worst in the West.
Okay, so no great accomplishment to go on the road and beat the Portland Trailblazers. However, they were coming off. Was this not a back-to-back after beating the Kings the night before?
Yeah. It was the Kings, and Butler didn't play the night before, so you got Butler back, but you didn't have Hero the 2 games. And
what's up with Hero? What's going on with him?
Is it an ankle?
He had the suspension for 1 game, right?
Oh, he wasn't suspended.
He wasn't suspended. Okay.
He was hurt, remember? Then he came back and played in the game where the fight happened, and then I don't know if he tweaked something. So they're being very cautious with him. I don't know. I think it's it's something lower body.
Where's Scoop Skolnick when you need him? Yeah,
exactly. We'll ask Scoop.
Yeah. I watched a decent portion of this game last night. They were getting trounced early. Portland was hitting everything, and they were playing brilliant basketball. And you thought, wow, how is this team this bad? And, of course, they were unable to sustain it over the course of time. The Heat came back from 15 down and won the game going away. So looking very good, 33-25.
Yes.
Where obvious giant in the East has been the Boston Celtics with their 12 losses so far, and that's it.
Yeah.
And you have doubted them since day one. You don't believe in the Boston Celtics.
I just don't see them winning a title. I'm not going to put it past them to get through the East. Again, we were talking about it on our No Filter show. There's a lot of questions in the East. The number 2 seed right now is a team that I still don't trust. The Bucks, to me, are the biggest national threat to the Celtics. And the Heat are the team the Celtics will tell you they want to play. They want to get over the hump. Behind closed doors, they have no interest in playing the Heat at all. Because not only the Heat are not scared of them, the Heat love beating the shit out of the Celtics. So, I can see them getting through the East, but those 2 teams loom large on their path. Those are 2 teams that are not scared of them. And that's what they're doing in this regular season. They're playing really good offense. They played strong defense. They play together. They're starting 5 really good. Their bench sucks. And I think that's the thing that in the playoffs, I'm curious to see how it rears its ugly head. But they're just rolling through the regular season. Again, those are 2 teams that don't give a shit, though. That's the problem. The Celtics are taking this regular season really seriously, and they're really healthy. The Bucks are figuring shit out, and the Heat clearly don't give a crap. Like the Heat,
I don't know. I mean, they're showing some signs of determination.
I'm not trying. What I'm saying is, they treat the regular season very differently than what you're seeing the Celtics treat it. Like they treat the regular season a lot like the Spurs used to and the Patriots. It's okay. Let's get things together. Let's figure things out. Spoelstra uses it to figure out who he can really trust. Because again, Spoelstra doesn't like going 9 or 10 deep. Spoelstra likes having it, that 8-man, and then
I think he would play 4 guys if he
when
could.
shit goes crazy, having 3 or 4 guys that you can just out of nowhere throw in that magically, and a Caleb Martin and a Robinson steal the show. Like, he uses the regular season to figure that stuff out. You can see Missoula's not doing that. Missoula's trying to go, and there's nothing wrong with that, but we'll see. We'll see come the playoffs what they are against the Bucks and the Heat. I can see them getting through the East. I don't see them beating a Nuggets. I think the Nuggets would beat them in 5 games. Like, I just don't. Their toughness, which was already an issue. Yeah, you add Drew Holiday, but your 2 main guys are not tough guys. I'm sorry to tell you, they're not. They're just in the big moments.
Well, I don't know that Porzingis would be considered tough either.
Porzingis is the antithesis of tough. So maybe they'll prove me wrong, but
he looks like Mel Counts from the old Celtics many years ago, the original 7-footer that I was aware of in the NBA. I don't know if there were any other 7-footers at the time. Well, I guess you had Wilt, right?
Yeah.
But Mel Counts, what a stiff! Wow. Red Auerbach. He was never the human victory cigar. That was Henry Finkel, another 7-footer of not much in the way of accomplishment or distinction. Hank Finkel used to come in there as the human victory cigar, which was great. And how great was it? I mean, you talk about old school, and we're going to have Tony coming up and joining us. In fact, pop him on now if he's on the screen here. Tony Segreto. He had to love it when Red Auerbach used to line up the victory cigar in the building.
In the building.
In the building.
It could be 7 minutes left in the game, but they knew he won. He lit it up.
That was it, man. And then there was the human victory cigar. Where it was at one time, I believe, Henry Finkel was the human victory cigar. There were others, though. There were other human victory cigars in Celtics history.
When you mentioned Henry Finkel, I thought of Red Auerbach right away.
Yeah.
And I thought of how far we've come since that time. But the tradition of that in itself was so great. So great.
Sending the stiff, Well, was Mike Reardon ever that? Mike Reardon used to come in to give a foul for the Knicks, and then he became a great ball player after he got traded in the Earl of Pearl deal with the Bullets.
Knicks, Walt Lanier, he was limping onto the court. The standing ovation he got.
Oh, Willis Reed, yeah.
Willis Reed.
Willis Reed, that was great. I thought Willis was going to play that game. He went 2 for 4 and became a legend. Clyde Frazier had like 400 points in that ball game, and they beat the Lakers.
2 for 4, and he'll always be remembered for that moment.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was a classic, man. One of those emotional tearjerkers. A real Tony Segreto, Tom Rinaldi type of moment. I mean, you can almost hear the piano music in the background there.
Oh, yeah.
It's great. Yeah. These brave young men here to play a challenge game. How you feeling, Tony? You look great. I mean, you look great. It looks like you're feeling good.
Feeling
excellent.
Good, feeling great, feeling strong every day.
All right, we're going to dive into a little old school with Tony Segreto here in just a sec on the program. That's brought to you by Texas Roadhouse Restaurants. Great place. People are always talking about where can I get good value. We were in such a place yesterday. It's just a family-owned single establishment talking about Tropical Acres. But Texas Roadhouse would be, I guess, the American version of the kind of value and the kind of service and real hospitality you get at a Tropical Acres. It's kind of like a family-owned and operated restaurant in every location. And that's the way they work it. So you really do get that vibe there, and you can't get better value. I mean, talking about what? That ribeye that we had, Lubie, giant fucking steak, bone-in ribeye, cooked perfectly. Asked for it rare plus. It was rare plus. And what was that, like $30, $32?
It's ridiculous.
And I had the salmon.
Yeah, you were having a salmon, but you ate a lot of other stuff, Tony.
No, I did.
For a guy that doesn't have an ounce of fat on your body, I mean, and I don't know that you ever did, but geez, I mean, you're trim.
You kidding me?
You can eat. You can eat.
In high school, I was 275 pounds.
Wow.
No way, Tony. Get out of here. 275?
Well, now we know why you're so conscious.
Did you have the lap band surgery or something before it even existed? Were you like early Tommy John?
Like my trap.
Frank Job, did a little number on you? No. All right. 275, that's impossible to conceive of with Tony Segreto, isn't it? Were you a catcher?
No, I was a third baseman.
No,
played third? Wow.
275.
Holy Frank Malzone. Yeah. All right, we're coming back more old school. We'll get it underway with Tony Segreto in just a moment. Now that.
The time.
It's 8:32.
Folks, Tony Segreto here. Let me ask you a question. What do you look for when you go out to eat? Good food, obviously. Friendly atmosphere, not too loud, but good energy, reasonable prices, and a place where you feel comfortable. All those ingredients, no pun meant there, are hard to find unless you're talking about the Texas Roadhouse. You see, they encompass all of those attributes. Really, really good food, amazing atmosphere, good for a family, good for a date, or just a night out for yourself, and prices that will make you extremely happy. Their ribs unmatched, steaks hand cut every day. Everything, and I mean everything, is made on site, including their incredible bread. It's the one day, folks, that you can forget about low-carb diets. Trust me when I tell you, Texas Roadhouse, your restaurant, your destination when you say, where should we go and eat tonight?
From the newly renovated sports bar to the beautiful bayside views captured at the Tiki Bar, Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill has it all. Located at mile marker 104, the Big Chill also offers waterfront dining while experiencing breathtaking sunset views of the Florida Keys. It's simply the hottest spot in the Keys to cool off. That's Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill at mile marker 104 in Key Largo. For more information, call today at 305-453-9066.
What we gonna do right here is go back, way back into time.
We are now kicking it old school with the one and only Tony Segreto, brought to you by Catholic Health Services and Texas Roadhouse.
Folks, Tony Segreto here. Let me ask you a question. What do you look for when you go out to eat?
Welcome back to the show. We've got Tony Segreto going old school with us here on the Defo Show. That's Mike Lubie Lubitz, proudly in front of all of that Seminole memorabilia that he's got back there. I guess you would call it that, paraphernalia.
I got to get a hurricane memorabilia right here.
You have to hang something there behind you. It's like you're coming to us from an abortion clinic. What's going on here, Tony Segreto?
It's like white and blue.
Everybody's got their backgrounds and lighting. You look good though. That's all that matters. As long as you look good.
That's all that matters.
We were talking about this. We have 0 Stanley Cups from the Florida Panthers, and yet, I mean, it's rare that we actually believe a team that we have here in town is completely legit. We've had times where we thought the Dolphins were legit, but even in this most recent era with Tua, it's still a question: is he the guy? I mean, Chris Greer, is he really capable of putting together a championship team? They have this high-flying offense under Mike McDaniel, and yet it seems to fall apart and crumble at times where you have a critical need to do the simplest of things. Just get me a first down or two to ice this ball game, and they can't do it. They start throwing option passes and, Statue of Liberty plays, all kinds of crazy shit. The Panthers this year, though, and I know it's kind of an abstract thing, and people, especially, I don't know if they can decipher anything from regular season hockey. But they look damn good. I mean, is this one of the best regular season teams we've seen where in South Florida we truly believe that this could be a championship caliber team?
They look really good. They look like a championship team. They're playing just enough to win now, but they're priming themselves for the championship. I would be disappointed if they didn't win it.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, the overall favorite. That's not a weird statement. It feels icky to say, but it actually is.
It feels icky to say, but it's the truth. You would be disappointed if they didn't go, so you don't want to take it to the championship. They wouldn't go far in the playoffs.
Should win a couple of rounds the way they're playing.
They should be in the championship series.
Yes, conference championship at least. You would think that they could get by a couple of rounds, and yet it's very competitive. You do have 2 other teams that have either the same or 1 less point with the Boston Bruins. They got off to a great start, and surprisingly, the New York Rangers, who I should know more about. I sit here. We get 5 pages of hockey in my New York Post. So, I mean, but that would be your only connection to it. I mean, it's a shame. Do you even bother? I mean, I hate to say this because we have a lot of friends still that, have endeavored into, in the newspaper business and still have a feeling for it. And then there are other guys that we know that are still working, which is surprising because the industry essentially has dried up. But, I mean, you don't get any of this in the local newspapers, do you? Do you even pick one up anymore? Even online? Do you look at like the Sun Sentinel or the Miami Herald? I used to covet the moment when it came to my driveway.
I don't. I wish I said I did. It's embarrassing that I don't, but I don't. I'd rather go to the New York Post or the New York Times and read that. And
does the Times still have a sports section?
No,
I thought they bagged it. Yeah.
No, but the Times has good articles. They have
They'll cover sports. They just don't have a sports section.
Okay. All right.
Articles.
Yeah, I'm always I'm amazed. I mean, it's one of the reasons that I spend the money for this thing and go through the perils of wondering if it's coming every day. Which lately the delivery has been pretty spot on. But I mean, the depth they go into on baseball, on hockey, all of this other stuff, college basketball. Is probably I'm not big on the internet. You don't get the depth in the articles, it seems, on the internet. Maybe I'm looking in the wrong places. I know you were a big fan of the Athletic. Are you still a fan of the Athletic? Is that your source?
Big fan of the Athletic. You can't beat the Athletic.
All right.
You can't. They got the best of the best.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, because I really don't like reading stuff on the computer. I much rather I don't want to bring my laptop into the bathroom there to have a bowel movement. And I love just being able to peruse through and end up on the odds page. I mean, how much better can it get?
I just had this vision of you sitting on the pot with your laptop.
It's not a pretty sight. I can assure you, Tony.
I don't want to know.
There's stuff bulging out of areas that shouldn't be, and then there's other stuff that used to bulge that I can't even find with a search warrant. It's getting old. It's for the fucking birds, man. I mean, it really is, Tony. Who needs it, right? It's supposed to be a peaceful end to this whole thing. Maybe, what did I do? I don't know. I'm sorry, all the people that I burned in my lifetime.
First of all, let's get back to the center.
Yeah.
First of all, how much does the Post cost you?
Post, they charge your subscribers pretty much face value. I mean, you get the delivery, but it's like $3 a copy. I mean, it's probably over $1,000 a year for this thing. So, but I mean, I love it because 6:30 in the morning, usually by then, the thing's sitting outside my door.
You get the day after, right?
No, you get today's paper, but obviously this is a Bulldog edition deadline. So you wouldn't have like a result of last night's Knicks game. You would get, in this edition, you would get some of the preview articles about it. And now you do get some East Coast results. Some games have concluded by the time they go to this particular printing. But yeah, essentially, you're getting some of yesterday's news tomorrow. There's no doubt about it. It's so comprehensive by comparison to any other source that I know of. I know they're concentrating on New York sports, but in the process of covering that, they do expand their horizons. It's kind of like, it used to be great to pick up any newspaper, especially if they had great feature writers, which we were lucky here in town.
Yeah, we had great
especially in the days of the Miami News. I mean, you had some really, really top-notch feature writers, including my all-time favorite here, the great Tom Archdeacon, who's still, I think he's still active somewhere in Dayton, Ohio.
Yeah, he is.
But it was nice. I mean, to get that, and it gives you a good dose and a little overview of what's going on. Lubie's constantly amazed, that I will be aware of some situation that even he, who follows this more closely than I do, has no knowledge of. But it's usually alluded to somewhere in the sports section of the New York Post, which used to be the case with all sports sections, but just isn't anymore.
Wouldn't you be an interesting fly on the wall to see how this is done at the New York Post, to see how quickly they get it out and they get it to you? I mean, really, it's
I think it's printed here. This particular edition is printed by the Sun Sentinel and delivered by the Sun Sentinel's delivery people. So and there's one other guy in my complex that gets the Post, believe it or not. I found out the other day. I was talking to somebody, and they brought up sports, and we were talking about newspapers, and he said he gets the Post. So it isn't just me here in this complex that gets a New York Post delivery, and that's why I wonder why this person is always cursing in Spanish, all the way back from the time this paper hits the door, which they throw it pretty hard. And, they just let you know, hey, I'm here. It's 5:30 in the morning. Here's your fucking paper to force. And then they're cursing all the way back to Hialeah or wherever they came from with this delivery. Because who gets nobody gets the paper delivered anymore.
No.
Nobody gets the
Surprised
paper
they even deliver it. I really am that they even offer this kind of service.
I remember I used to have a newspaper route.
Yes. Every kid did at some point except Lubie.
I had both. I had Miami News and the Miami Herald. And we had to porch the paper. And if you didn't porch it, you had to get off your bicycle.
Oh, yeah. And put it there.
And get it off and put it on the porch.
So you didn't hang up a couple of them in the trees like I did?
Well, I did. But I had paper. But I was getting really, really good at porching them.
I was talking about this the other day. I didn't really deliver newspapers for much of my youth because I was very lucky. I got a job when I was 14 at Shea Stadium selling souvenirs, and it turned out to be a very lucrative job for any kid, and actually was a job that some adults supported themselves with.
Yeah,
and it was good. I mean, we were making really good money by the standard of the day, and also by comparison to any kid job. But when I did deliver newspapers, if there was a game that broke out, like if they were playing softball or something, you would immediately, I mean, it didn't matter how many papers you had left. You might have only thrown 3 of 103. The rest of them went down the sewer.
Yeah.
And then there would be 100 complaints. Your group manager or whatever, who came and he would round up all these little kids like he was in some Dickens novel. And he'd be saying, well, what the fuck did you do yesterday, DeForest? I say, well, what are you talking about? He says, I got 103 people that told me that they didn't get their paper. I hope you at least went 4 for 5. Yeah, but I mean, we weren't very reliable on that. Now, it's people in cars that do this stuff, and I would imagine it's not a whole lot of fun early in the morning. All right, we're coming back with more. Ed Garcia is going to join us from Texas Roadhouse. Have you been to a Texas Roadhouse recently, Tony?
We need to actually go. Mail's down. We need to go bring mail there.
Let's nail it down now. Let's nail it down today.
Yeah, we'll talk to Ed.
Yeah, we'll talk to Ed, man. I would love to go.
It's great, yeah.
It's been a while. All right. Yeah, we'll get that done. And then there's nothing like it. You start out at the bar there with a couple of margaritas. My God, Tony.
Yep.
You had a veritable smorgasbord of drinks that night. I was quite surprised.
Put it away.
Did not strike me as any kind of heavy drinker. I thought maybe
like straight
a sip of a Pinot Noir. Yeah.
But, all righty.
Straight up.
Like, barkeep, send the bottle. That was great. All right, we're coming back. Ed Garcia is going to join us from Texas Roadhouse. It's old school. Tony Segreto here on the Defo Show with Mike Lubie Lubitz. And we'll be back with more.
I still think that you on the pot with the time.
No, don't do that.
No, don't do that, man. That was a technique, though, that a guy told me about in, I guess I was in college at the time. He said, but why are you afraid to call that girl? You're debating whether to call like the prettiest girl in your English class or whatever. And he says, just picture her on the toilet wiping her ass after a particularly sloppy dump.
Oh, Jesus.
And that'll sort of give you a vision of reality of, that it's just another person, Don't be afraid. And it was an imaging that I found very useful throughout my lifetime, whether at business dealings or whatever. All right, back with more in a moment. Now that.
The time.
It's 8:45. Ponies in Style at Champions, the outstanding simulcasting room at beautiful Hialeah Park. Yes, the grand old lady of thoroughbred racing has never been more vibrant, and you can wager on the races from the top tracks around the country while enjoying a cocktail at the Brass Rail Bar or any of the fine food served throughout the facility. If poker is your game, you're covered in Style, and you can play all your favorite Vegas-style games, including blackjack, craps, and roulette, in Hialeah Park's sizzling hot casino. Get a player's card when you walk through the door for all kinds of generous amenities, including our favorite, free play, when you come out to the ultimate casino and entertainment destination, Hialeah Park.
These days, we're all looking for comfort anywhere we can find it. Thank goodness for Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill in Plantation, because they are making sure you are as comfortable as possible. First of all, they're not only open for delivery and pickup. All you have to do is go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both pickup and free delivery. You're going to have the best wings in the world. You're going to have a great burger. You're going to have their amazing soups. Again, Landlubbers, Raw Bar and Grill. It's nice and easy. Just go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both your pickup and free delivery. Thank goodness for Landlubbers for making you always feel right at home.
Are you looking to buy your first home? Have you been turned down for a loan? Do you need to refinance or get money out of your home? Call Michael Kodsey, CEO of Choice Mortgage. He's been helping the South Florida community get mortgages for 30 years.
Hi, this is Michael Kodsey, CEO of Choice Mortgage. We have the most competitive fixed rates in the market. Call me 24/7, 561-441-2730. And remember, I don't just work banking hours. To make the right choice for your home, call Choice Mortgage today.
What we gonna do right here is go back, way back into time.
We are now kicking it old school with the one and only Tony Segreto. Brought to you by Catholic Health Services and Texas Roadhouse.
All right, there he is. Welcome back to the show. I got Mike Lubie Lubitz in one box, Tony Segreto, and of course the great Ed Garcia joining us right now from Texas Roadhouse Restaurants. We were just singing your praises, Ed. How are you, my friend? Yeah,
I'm doing great. How you guys?
We're doing well. Tony was saying we have to lock it down. Now, whenever he says that, we figure we actually have to take some action here and get together another Texas Roadhouse gathering. And we will bring, the ultimate when it comes to food critics. When Mike Mayo, who at first made a face when we mentioned Texas Roadhouse, as a lot of people, that are kind of foo-foo diners would say, oh, well, that's a chain. And we said, no, you got to really look deeper, more deeply into this, Mayo. Don't just, peruse the surface all the time. And sure enough, he went there with his daughter. They loved it.
Yes.
And he realized that you guys are doing it in a fashion that I think is unparalleled anywhere, among restaurants of its type. Just an amazing job. So when are we going to be able to get there? When are you going to be in town? Because
when are you available?
We have to work around Tony's schedule. Our social calendar is clear. We don't have anything going.
Clear. I should have had you guys last night because I was working in Miramar. But how does March 15th look?
15th. That could be the day. That could be the day.
Take a look at it.
Where are you going to be, Tony?
I think Tony's got a nail appointment that morning, and then what's after that?
I think he's having his hair dyed. I don't know. You think he's coloring his hair in? What do you think? He says no.
I'm not. I'm not doing that.
He's changing the lighting.
Moving forward, you got to go back the other way. I like it.
I look like Bobby Cremins now.
Same with me, and this filter doesn't help.
March 15th. Okay, let's lock it in.
It's Friday,
lock it
in. Man, that should work.
The ribeye is going to be, probably a dual order, both Lubie and me after that last one. How do you charge like $30 for that thing? That's incredible.
That's interesting.
I'll tell you a fun fact that, we just surpassed, but the Texas Roadhouse is the #1 sirloin buyer in the world.
Oh, wow.
Wow. Oh, okay. That's big.
Yeah, that's huge. So really Walmart controls a lot of the beef and, what's happening in the world. But we are now the #1 sirloin buyer. And I think that's just one of the big things. Now that we're approaching 700, 750 restaurants.
Oh, wow.
750.
We have a really amazing purchasing department. We buy our cattle 6 months to a year out. We used to really kind of be almost a year and a half, but the market's super fickle right now. And we have a team that goes out, looks at the cattle, looks at the process, just to ensure that we get the absolute best product. And all the way down to the restaurant level, our meat cutters, we have very specifics when it comes through the back door that we hold them accountable. So we have a system, if it's not right, we take pictures and it goes back to them. And it's fantastic. So that way, you get on that plate the best possible piece of meat. So I think that's a really big thing, makes Texas Roadhouse great and helps keep our prices really low, especially when we can buy a lot. So we're very blessed in that aspect. Thanks to all of you coming in and eating, we can keep the prices low.
It's amazing. Yeah. Now, Tony could be the livestock manager from your description. I could just see him with a cowboy hat on out there in some western state.
How the look and Davy go for you the other day?
You know what? I'll tell you, it went absolutely fantastic. I'm super excited. I was a little nervous on on the building because it's an older building. I think you might know where it's at. It's like King Crab or something, on 595 in University.
By the Costco? Is it by that?
Right on 84.
There's Publix and Burlington Coat Factory is in the plaza right there. Probably 250 yards from Roundup. I know that's Tony's.
Okay, so yeah, so it's on the.
So anyway, so the building looks great. I feel good about it. So we're working. I just sent the prints this morning to my architect. And she's going to make sure that, the inside can fit a Texas Roadhouse the way we want it to. And from there we'll go. So hopefully the countdown is on. We make a good offer. They accept. And we'll be really close to Lubie and Tony.
Nice. Make them an offer they can't refuse.
Yes.
Hey, we were having a great conversation yesterday with Tom Herman, who is now the coach at FAU, coach at Texas. So he's been with big-time programs and very interesting guy. He was talking about the state of college football, and Lubie had brought up, which a lot of people were discussing. Ed, curious to get your thoughts on, where you have guys that are head coaches like Kelly at UCLA, and he says, fuck this, I don't want to do this anymore, and he becomes like an offensive coordinator. Or guys are leaving head coaching jobs to become assistants in the NFL, which you rarely would see, and prominent head coaching jobs. And Herman was saying that they still haven't figured out the state of affairs and where it's going to go. But schools like FAU, which we've always seen, maybe lose out in recruiting battles. Now they even when they get players, they're gone if they're any good somewhere else. And that the whole dynamic of college football is not only changed dramatically, but it's still in the process of becoming something.
Oh yeah, it's ever changing right now. Yep.
I don't know. I mean, will the game ever be the same, or are we going to be, just looking at a dynamic that is almost unworkable in terms of sustaining, the kind of thing that we were used to seeing in terms of entertainment out of college football?
I feel college football is going to be very challenging and is very fluid at the moment with the NIL and the transfer portal, now the changing of the championship program. All that stuff is having a huge impact. I know losing Jim Harbaugh, Michigan, perfect example, was a big impact on the program. And I'll tell you, we didn't have a lot of people, go into the portal right away. But then shortly afterwards, as people declared for the draft, you just started seeing so much movement. Coaching makes a big deal. We had people decommit, new people commit. We actually had the first person transfer to Ohio State since 2008.
Yeah, such ugliness.
So you could essentially, I think, in the next few years, between NIL money and everything else, I mean, every year you could be looking at a new football team for that school. It
reminds me of the NFL.
That's what Herman said. It's worse. Herman said, at least the NFL, you have guys for 2-3 year contracts. And I didn't think about this. In college, it's year to year, literally year to year.
Yeah.
And he wants it to be more like a business because at least you can lock guys in for 2 to 3 years and actually keep them to their word. Whereas right now, it's actually Wild West is an understatement. Literally, guys 100%. Are on 2-year contracts and they're not held to anything.
Yeah. 100%.
They should make it like college baseball. You stick to your junior year, or you leave, or stick to your junior year, and then you can go.
I guarantee it'll be huge headlines this coming fall as the teams materialize 100%. Everyone's going to realize that, and it's going to be all the headlines, and we'll probably see a big change. I'm hoping in 2026. But I agree with you, Tony. There needs to be a loyalty of some sort, to do that, because it is going to be worse than the pros, because you can just turn around and flip, to whoever you want to, and whoever's giving you the best offer.
Yep.
Especially, I don't know if you saw, but there's a loophole right now with NIL that the alumni and fan base, you can contribute. I may or may not have contributed to the Michigan one, but where it's money for the players to come back again.
Yes.
So
yeah.
It's it's a very interesting program, but you can do that, and they split the money up appropriately to get people to hey, instead of going into the pros, come back one more year, which really helped Michigan this past year. With JJ McCarthy and Blake Corum and the rest of everybody else. So it's really changed the dynamics of the program and how the teams work.
Yeah, when the NIL first came about, it was more or less, how can I put this? Kept under the table, right? You didn't see it, you didn't know it, but you see a guy do a commercial, you see a girl do a commercial, but now it's so out there, and the moving of the players who are so out there, it is becoming a subway.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you had the Cavender twins who averaged like 2 points a game.
Yeah.
Come to the University of Miami for like $1 million a piece before joining the WWE, where they're now, yelling, "McMahon, take your hands off of me." No, I mean, it's amazing to see how that's transitioned. Jim Larinaga, we were talking about this the other day. It always struck me. He said during an interview a few years ago that you won't believe how this is going to alter conditions. And we thought, well, geez, Jim, you don't usually overreact to stuff. But even that was an underestimation. His alarm about how this was going to change the game, what was kind of interesting. Going to Ohio State, I mean, from Michigan, that would be like Johnny Damon becoming a Yankee.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's correct.
but you know, even Nick got out of the game. That tells you
no.
something. Nick, I mean, who was primed to
Nick-
do what? I mean, win championship or at least be right there knocking on the door every year. And he just said, you know what, to hell with this. It's really surprising how this has impacted a lot of different people who, I mean, if anybody was controlling this situation in college football, it was Nick Saban.
he washed his hands of it. He washed his hands of it.
Well, you're not managing blocking, tackling, and your quarterback anymore. Now you're just trying to manage people of not leaving and who to recruit. That's a whole nother dynamic and a full-time job. So, the retirement makes it, looks really sexy at that point.
The colleges now have had to hire specific people just for the recruiting portal.
Oh, yeah. They have capologists, I guess. Yeah.
They have a staff. Yeah, they have a staff.
What's great is there is no salary cap in a college game.
There isn't.
Right.
And there's no longer any kind of parameters of eligibility because guys go to school now for 11 years and it's more profitable for them. It's not the old John Blutarski thing anymore, 7 years of college down the drain.
We have to rein it in.
Zach Edey will be like 40 when he leaves Purdue, I believe. Keeps finding ways to become eligible. It's insane, what's going on. It really is funny to watch. All right, any thoughts yet about your Wolverines next year under a new head coach? I mean, Jim Harbaugh was only there part of the season this year.
It's going to be difficult for him because you know what? Let me just say this, Ed. It's a transition year. It'll be the same for Harbaugh, but he is replacing Harbaugh, so now he is under the microscope.
Well, and they didn't lose last year. That was another thing. Makes it tough to eclipse.
And we opened versus Texas.
Oh, Jesus.
Oh, yeah? Okay.
Yeah, so that's going to be a challenge. And
where's that? Where's that game?
In Ann Arbor.
Oh,
so I'm throwing a big party. I had already planned the party before Harbaugh's deal, but we'll have a big RV and throwing a big tailgate for that game. And actually, our head of a board of directors, he's a Texas grad, so we're going together. I'm hoping I don't have to hear the Texas fight song all day, but we'll figure it out at that point. I feel that the program's got great momentum, but the thing is that this team hasn't played with each other. I mean, essentially every coach is new. So many players are new because of everything we just discussed. So it boils down to what's happening right now. It's spring training and what happens over the summer and creating that teamwork, and they figure it out. They can rise to the top, but I feel confident we'll be a top 10 team.
He didn't retain one coach.
I think just one, but they transferred positions. I have to double check. There's just
a lot of the coaches.
Last week we had a little bit of movement as well, so I'll tell you, it's very, very fluid. I'm kind of waiting for the pieces to settle.
That's a real fan, though, Tony. He's already has his plan set for a game that's like months away and incredible. That's great, Ed Garcia.
He's got his calendar down. He's checking.
Right.
He's got parties planned. He's already got like the menu developed. It's fantastic.
I love it.
All right, Ed, we love you, man. Thanks. All right, so what was the date on that, Tony?
Friday, March 15th.
March 15th. Okay, that'll be great. I'll be coming back. I'll need a free meal because I'll be coming back from Atlantic City that day before and betting spring training baseball. Ed, thanks so much. Always a pleasure. Texas Roadhouse Restaurants. Ed Garcia, ladies and gentlemen, the ultimate Michigan fan. This guy he's all in, Tony. He's your kind of guy. I could see why you guys get along.
Yeah.
He loves his college football. And,
he loves it.
It's great to see.
Yeah.
It really is.
It's such a great game. And we can't wait for July and August to come around to get to practice, and we'll see what happens.
This Herman was very forthright. I mean, Tom Herman yesterday, very interesting guy.
Yeah,
they did a great job there. FAU. The athletic director was a guy who was the son of the guy from Florida or something.
No, the son of the guy from Duke and Notre Dame.
Oh, Duke. Okay, yeah, I knew it was some big program that he came from. And what was his last name? White? Is that it? Yeah. Good job, though. I mean, he found Dusty May out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Who and I'm actually going to attend the game with the lovely and talented Leslie Visser on Saturday. First FAU game, I believe. I may have broadcast an FAU game or two way back in the day, but I don't believe I certainly haven't been to see anything in the last 25 years there. So that'll be a lot of fun.
Athletic director too. He's a He's a chip off the old block.
Seems like it, yeah. I mean, and Tom Herman is no slouch as a hire. I mean, when you listen to this guy, you can't help but think that, wow. I mean, given any kind of equal footing, even like on the low end, he would have a chance to succeed.
All they need are 3 players to take them over the top, and not get hurt.
Yeah,
and and then 3 more players to follow. 4 more players to follow. 5 more players to follow. They could have it. All they need is a big signature win, and they get over the top.
Well, I mean, and they have the ghost of Schnelly backing them, which I can't help but think is a huge factor in the long run. I mean, it may not show up every year, but eventually you're going to hear Schnelly from the grave saying, "Oh, I told you a long time ago it'll take us 7 years, and we'll be competing for a national championship." And you're like, Howard, you're fucking crazy, man. It's never going to happen there. And what has he got? He's got Schnelly Field. He's got everything going. I mean, they're getting prominent coaches coming there. I don't know if they win a national championship in football. That seems far-fetched. But the fact that they were in there in basketball and actually, I mean, have been relevant, I guess, throughout the season, although it doesn't look like they're as good as they were a year ago. I mean, it's a pretty significant accomplishment by an athletic director at a school of that type.
I give you guys credit because you're the only station or the only outlet that gives FAU and FIU and colleges like that a shot at showing the world what they have.
Yeah.
And there's a lot to be said for it. FAU.
It's weird too, Tony, and you would know this as well as anybody, that while we have a great relationship with Jim Larrañaga, we have yet to be able to get Mario Cristobal to come on the show.
I can't.
And you would think that, I mean, this was the thing that built this program. Schnelly, I mean, would talk to anybody. He would talk to some bum on the street and tell him, "Hey, I got 2 tickets for you here. Why don't you come down to the Orange Bowl and watch
You never see him. You never see him on
Carolina is going to be a hell of an opponent for us."
He's done some national stuff, but has he done anything like, I don't know.
What the fuck? I mean, we want to know what's going on. Are you going to be any good? What the hell's happening here? At least sell me on the idea that, something good is happening. That and you're not just sitting there collecting this $8 million a year and, you're going to drag the program down because you don't really have a great plan. That's possible. I don't know. I mean, I don't know what to make of it, but the guy, used to be the most available of organizations. And that was one of the things that helped them build their sports programs, I believe. And they don't do it anymore. Right? I mean, we had to call Larrañaga directly, I think, the last time after getting shined on. And, I mean, the baseball doesn't have the same position that it once did. But nonetheless, you don't hear from anybody from this place. It's crazy. So FIU and FAU, they were always at least trying, and they were begging you. Remember when they used to beg you at NBC, say, "Hey, could you please put our coach on? We're playing Duke tomorrow." Yeah. And you would sort of, reluctantly approach the news editor and say, "Do you mind if I go down to FIU and do a piece?" And they would say, "Fuck you, Segreto. Well, what do you got? A restaurant down there? You got some girl you're hanging with on the side? I mean, what do you want to go to FIU for? Nobody wants to go down there." Yeah, but okay. We always enjoyed the fact that they sort of were available to us, and we became friendly with a bunch of their coaches over the years. So it was really good. And think about it. I mean, they had Butch Davis at FIU for a while. That was pretty cool.
It's a struggle for them.
Yeah, it's weird that it's so much tougher.
Yeah, they seem to have fallen well behind FAU, which came along after FIU was already trying to put itself on the sports map down here.
Weird. They don't stay consistent. Where FAU got Tom Herman,
Well, they've had Kiffin. They've tried. FIU's weird.
Yeah. Football coach is great though. We've had him on the show a few times. We really like this guy. I don't know that he, Tom Herman was just flat out saying, "Hey, listen, it's almost impossible to compete at this level at this point."
Oh yeah, he didn't mince any words.
Yeah,
he was very honest.
But, you can do all the recruiting you want. I mean, those guys are going to be with you maybe for one season, and then they're gone.
Yeah,
they're getting offers from Colorado.
You're seeing FAU guys all over the world, all over the country.
He said 3 guys went to Colorado in the transfer portal last year.
Yeah, he openly named the school. He was like,
I mean, they're just hovering over these guys like vultures, right?
And he named the kid's name. He's like, yeah, without him.
In the spirit, Tony, of intercollegiate athletics, your favorite thing to preach to us. How wonderful this is. Oh, my God. It's a mess. God. It really is. But no, he was very, very interesting. A very compelling speaker. Well, we spoken with him in a more casual environment, because he was trying, I guess, we gave him the opportunity to sell the spring game or whatever. Yeah. And which used to be a big deal with the Canes, right? I don't even know. When is it, Tony? I used to do like the PA for the spring game many years ago. I always loved it, right? Yeah. That was number 19, Darryl Fullington on the tackle. Was he 19 or 17? And he seldom made a tackle. Yeah. Including, I mean, wasn't he the guy when Phelan
Let's not go there.
Oh, my God.
Let's not go there. He was the guy.
You were in the elevator? Were you in the elevator on your way down to the field?
I watched it happen.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because I nearly left. I pulled a Lubie. I was famous for that. I used to, just think the game's over, so boom, let me out of here, and then boom, here we go. Troy Stratford in the flats, wide open. Could they have thrown it to him and changed the course of college football history? No, of course not. Whoosh. Right over Fullington and into the end zone. Incredible. Tony, we love you, man. What are you up to? I mean, where are you? Are you home? Are you away? Where are you?
I'm home. Okay. I'll see you tomorrow. I'll see you Friday.
Oh, you're coming out to the track? Very good.
Yeah.
Now, are you sending it in on FanDuel on Saturday? Is that why you leave with the Saturday form?
Yeah.
I was going to say, he has all the apps.
Like, you know what? You're a sicker degenerate than we thought. Yeah.
Because he doesn't go to the track, maybe.
He's sitting there handicapping Santa Anita for the next
day.
Hard
Rock app, I think, and I know he definitely has FanDuel.
Yeah.
No, second.
Whatever's legal in Florida, whatever the hell's legal in Florida.
One in Vegas, though, instead of the New York Post early in the morning, which you can't find at that hour, there's nothing better than having that day's racing form.
That day's racing form. I take the Saturday racing form home.
Yeah.
My wife and I go through it. She's a sick degenerate when it comes to horses too. So.
Oh yeah, and the wife is onto it also. Wow, that's interesting.
The only thing she's into is the horses.
Yeah.
She loves the horses.
Oh man, and probably a pretty good handicapper. Oh look, she picked you out of like a zillion people.
Yeah, I was a mutter.
You kidding me? You were.
No, you were talking about the mutter. You were already Segreto when she married you.
You were a top stallion.
Both did really well
back in the day. Yeah. All right, so we got to run. We're getting out of bounds here, and thank you, people, for sticking with us. Always a pleasure. Ed Garcia is great.
Tony.
Texas Roadhouse. So looking forward now. I'm glad we have a plan, Libby. You're going to be on the road today with Mike Mayo in the lunchbox. I managed to weasel a day off, which is good. Because I gave him that look like, where the fuck is this place? He's in some guy's backyard today? Is that what it is?
It's at a house, supposedly, but it's not a house. I was trying to explain it to Shirley because it's actually in Coral Springs, so I'm fucking stoked. I don't have to drive.
Oh, okay. So you're nearby. For me, it would have been a schlep. Yeah.
For once. So I'm excited. It's still somehow 15 minutes from my house, which I don't understand how that is. But
traffic.
It's at least Coral Springs, so that's fine. And I was trying to explain it to Shirley, and then I'm like, I actually don't know what the fuck this is.
Sounded, I mean, there was a very vague description by Mayo as to what was really going on.
Not a house. I don't know.
This guy's losing his mind. He really is.
Backyard, and there's pit masters. I'm like, okay.
Prime Rib Tropical Anchors, by the way, a big hit.
Great. I brought it home for Shirley. We don't eat red meat that often like you guys, but
yeah, that was a good looking.
I wasn't gonna say no.
No, I mean, the guy says, "Hey, you want to take one home?" Yeah, sure.
I would have
taken it home just for the cream spinach.
Exactly. Yeah.
All right, a lot of fun being with you guys. Lubie will join you later on, and then we'll catch you tomorrow with Caffeine TV, the morning briefing, and also the Defo show. We'll have the trivia challenge tomorrow.
Yes, Gergs is in.
Gurgles is in, and it's always a lot of fun. We always appreciate the people's participation and your chance to win something big right here on the show. So for Mike Lubie Lubitz, I'm Jeff DeForest. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. See you next time as we leave you know that.
The time.
It's 9:12.
Let's go to eat a damn snack.
Look what they done to my soul.